When you purchase a car or a house, you'll often do some due diligence into it. You might get a pre-purchase inspection for a car or a pest inspection for a house. You'll assess what that purchase means for your bank account down the track. You'll consider whether the purchase might have any large, unplanned expenses and whether the purchase is fit for purpose. When you're doing this, you'll often hire an expert to go and assess the item, to assess the car or the house. And you'll also assess whether that expert is genuine, whether they know what they're talking about, and whether they're unbiased. You'll consider whether they have a vested interest in the deal getting across the line. If, for example, the mechanic doing the PPI is a friend with the seller, you'd be slightly wary, for example. And so it is with the voice. You would think you would do all the due diligence you can before you're going out and voting for it, especially if you're going out and promoting the voice. Now, many of us have read the documents underlying the voice, including the shorter Uluru Statement of 439 words and the background documents that run some 20 or so pages. However, Anthony Albanese claims he has not done so. In an interview he gave with 3AW, he claimed he had not read past that one A4-page summary. He had not read the background documents, despite knowing they exist, and he claimed they were in fact completely irrelevant. Let's take a listen.
They know the Uluru Statement from the heart is one page, not hundreds of pages.
But what are the other 25 pages? I've read them. What are they?
What they are is record of meetings. Some of them, they're records of the big lead-up that happened.
Do you agree with most of what is said in those 25 pages?
I haven't read it.
You haven't read it?
There's 120 pages. Why would I? I know what the conclusion is.
Now, Anthony Albanese's comments are a problem, however you read them. It's very odd that he would not have read these background documents. You would think if someone is going to promote something and put their own reputation on the line, they would at least do some basic research. All the time we call out influencers for when they promote shonky products. Now, you would think Anthony Albanese would also inform himself to make sure he's not pushing a lemon. However, it appears he hasn't done so, at least according to his own words. Now, if Anthony Albanese has genuinely not read these background documents, he is clearly derelict. He is being willfully ignorant. He has asserted he doesn't need to read those documents, but everyone else is saying that he should. He's clearly failed to do his basic research. He is not fully informed. He's promoting something he simply does not understand. That is bad, and it is bad policy. At best, he would then be relying on what other experts tell him about the voice. It appears he has surrounded himself with people who have a vested interest in it succeeding, however, so he is hardly getting unbiased advice. This is especially the case within his own party. After all, in the ALP, unlike the Liberal Party, you can't disagree with your leader. Loyalty is enforced. So the advice he is getting from within his own party is clearly going to promote Albanese's own views. Now, one might argue that Anthony Albanese could outsource his advice to other experts, maybe to the media, or maybe to some other lawyers who are opining within the media. However, here we still also have a problem. We've seen time and time again that quote-unquote experts inject their personal views into their own statements. That's not uncommon. Experts are only human. They are going to have their own personal opinions about a matter, and that will cloud what they're saying. There's also no reason to believe these experts are unbiased. Furthermore, it's absolutely not clear that lawyers or academics are united in their support. Now, clearly the Yes campaign is much louder, but that's in large part because many No supporters have in fact been de facto silenced. For example, lawyers who don't support the voice seem to be condemned, at least by the hierarchy and by the higher-ups. Many academics have also remained silent because their own institutions are promoting the voice, and there's a fear that if they go out and support the No campaign, it might harm their careers. Now, this gives a lopsided nature to the debate. It makes the Yes campaign look stronger and more supported by experts than it might in fact really be. Now, we can go back to the other possibility. Anthony Albanese might simply be lying to us. He might have read the background documents, but he doesn't want to tell us. He wants to feign ignorance. He wants to be able to tell us that he hasn't really read anything about a treaty or about compensation. Rather, he's just promoting this one A4-page document, and he hasn't bothered to look further into what a makarata is because he simply doesn't need to do so. Now, that does seem a little bit difficult to believe. After all, why would you read the word makarata and not investigate what a makarata actually is? That seems incredibly odd. Now, in this case, he might be trying to obfuscate and pretend that these background documents simply aren't relevant. But, as with any purchase, you need to understand what you are buying. And those background documents tell you. You need to know whether the car is going to break down. You need to know whether the house is riddled with pests. You need to know what you are getting. And the background documents tell you what you are getting. They tell you what the voice implies. They'll tell you that the Voice will imply treaty and reparations for which everyone else will pay because that will come in the form of a proportion of GDP. But Anthony Albanese doesn't seem to think you deserve to know that. He seems to think that you should just be kept in the dark. In either case, whichever way you cut it, either Anthony Albanese hasn't bothered to inform himself, which is bad, or he is lying to us about whether he has informed himself, which might be worse. In any case, he's either incompetent, reckless, lying, or possibly all of the above. His own self-admitted willful ignorance would not bode well for people's confidence about the Voice, and it is therefore little wonder that the Voice is struggling in the polls.